Grab your coffee, get jacked up. I'm Jamie Taylor. It's time for another episode of the Block Talk podcast, where we aim to add value to the community of Little Rock. This week's guest is Jeremy Conrey, and he is from a company called Liberty Mutual. I'm going to let him introduce himself because he is super cool.
Well, thank you, Jamie. Appreciate you having me here on the show today. This is my very first podcast, so thank you for letting me be your first here. And I'm excited to be here in the city of Little Rock and talk a little bit about Liberty Mutual and what we do here. I've been with the company about 11 years, and I'm the sales manager. I lead a sales team. We cover most of Arkansas, and I've also got an office in Memphis that covers West Tennessee and Mississippi. But we love Arkansas. We're here. I'm here all the time, and it's just a great community here.
Well, I love it because when I met you, I literally came up. You were just very exciting and easy to talk to. You're a killer networker. Our audience can hear you already have a voice for podcasting. So you were just real easy for me to walk up to and connect to. We have the same sort of personality. And then you said, yeah, I'm expanding a team into Little Rock, and I want these guys to be the best, and I want them to work the hardest and have the best product. And ever since then, everywhere I turn is like Liberty Mutual, Liberty Mutual, Liberty Mutual. So you're killing it. Why did Liberty Mutual come in this market?
You know, Liberty Mutual, I'll speak first to why you see us everywhere, because Liberty Mutual's program with the field sales organization, we are in the communities, right? So we have offices here, we're out in the community, we network, we help out, we volunteer, all those kind of things. So that's why you see us everywhere, is because it's a big part of who we are, is volunteering. The reason we came into Little Rock is we had not had a local presence here in a long time. And this area is amazing, right? Little Rock's growing. The technology sector that you have here is expanding. It's a cool town. It's hip. It's growth. We did a lot of market feasibility surveys and research for about a year before we came in, and we really feel like Little Rock is poised to blow up, especially over the next 5 to 10 years.
That's how I feel. I get goosebumps when people say that,
yes.
Because it's like, isn't it great when you did that? When you said the word feasibility study, I was like, I do it on houses here all the time, and it kind of blows my mind that like we are sitting on the next big thing.
Yes, that's the way we feel, and we said, hey, it's a great market. Let's go in there. Let's establish a foothold now before it blows up and everyone else wants to get in there.
Right.
So that's why we're here, and we love it. We've got a team of 7 people here continuing to grow, and we're excited. We think there's a lot of amazing potential in future here in Little Rock.
Yeah, and you guys are smart because you kind of like all 7 of them are totally amazing, phenomenal people. They're all sweet. I know every single one of them. I've seen them at every YPN event, every habitat build, every single thing that us as realtors are at and our clients,
Yep.
There you are. And that has created a big, huge bond between you and some local realtors in the market. Do you think that all insurance agents should make an effort to be close to the agents in their market? I mean, do you feel like that knits them to the community automatically?
Well, I'm okay if they don't, because it makes us look better, right?
Right.
But no.
This is true. We hate the guys at State Farm. They're no fun to hang out with.
But no, you know,
always in khakis.
Every company's Jake, State Farm. Yeah.
The worst.
Great commercials.
Sorry, State Farm.
But you know, I think that if you want to engage with your community on a personal level and actually build those relationships, right? Because as an insurance agent, it's an industry where you need to know that you have the right coverage, right? Mm-hmm. You need to know you're protected, because you don't know how good your policy is until you need it. So you want to make sure you've got a good relationship with your agent. You can pick up the phone, you can call him or her and say, hey, here's what's going on. Do I have the right coverage? Do I have the right need? And so, yes, I do believe it's very important for agents to have, or for people to have a good relationship with their agent, right?
Yeah, it's super important. And I feel like with us as realtors, we get to directly deal with them. So we're in a situation where we get to say, okay, you're going to buy this house and then you're going to need insurance. And for us, it's like, hurry up, find the best price. You know, and the client's like, all right, let's find the best price. Mm-hmm. But then when your house gets broken into and you didn't have theft protection or you didn't have burglar protection, you should have read that policy. So if your agent doesn't tell you, then you're kind of stuck, right?
You know, I see insurance advertised all the time, right? You look at all the competitors out there and they talk about saving X number of dollars or 15% or more in your insurance and all that. And the focus on advertising really is about price. It's almost like it's a commodity, okay?
Right.
So it's hard to differentiate. Insurance is insurance, right? But it's not about the price. It is about the coverage. Price is important, absolutely, right? We don't want to pay $10 million for our insurance policy,
right?
But we do want to make sure that when something goes wrong,
that we have $10 million.
That's your covered, exactly. So yeah, and so you know we see people all the time that they come to us. They've got a policy, they state minimum coverages. You know they don't have. If they were to get in an accident, they're going to get sued. They don't have the right coverages on their home. They don't have the right life insurance in place. So there's a lot of gaps that we see every single day with people. So if you haven't done it yet, pick up the phone, call your agent, say, hey, give me a review. Let's make sure I'm covered completely.
Doesn't cost you anything to review your insurance,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay. So then my question is, it's hard to sell something you don't believe in, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's very difficult because I've tried to sell a lot of weight loss products and I am not interested. So when I go to look for insurance, I don't want to pay for necessary coverage on my stuff. I don't want health insurance. I don't want car insurance. I don't want house insurance. You're going to make me pay you for this just in case something happens. So if we already have to pay for the necessary evil, like, and you're going to sell it to me, and I know you're someone who doesn't sell things you don't believe in, like, what makes you believe in Liberty Mutual, and why should somebody take the time to call you instead of the other guy?
Great question. So I actually had the blessing to be with this industry with two different companies. I was with a large named insurance company when I started my career about 12 years ago.
Big box insurance.
It was it was a name everyone knows, and we won't repeat it. But it's a publicly traded company. Okay, and so that was my very first experience with insurance. You know, we had claims come in, and it was almost Jamie, like the policyholder was guilty until proven innocent. It was kind of the vibe that I felt when we're working with these policyholders.
We are not paying for this.
It was
unless
there was a lot of focus on showing a profit each quarter to the shareholders, and so we talked about that, right? Being profitable.
How are you going to be profitable if there's like a hurricane or something?
Well, companies, right? Well, you want to be profitable so you don't got a business. But I think that with the claims aspect of it, it really felt like I would not want to have a claim with that company if I was there. Let's put it that way.
Ooh, that's not a good feeling.
So I was there. I cut my teeth there for about a year and a half, and then I was recruited by Liberty Mutual, came over there, and one of the very first things I noticed was a complete culture shift. Our motto is do the right thing. So we talk about it every day, do the right thing. What's the right thing? What's the right thing for the customer? What's the right thing for, we're doing what we said. One of my very first clients I had there, I wrote her policy, and a couple months later, her house was broken into. She was about to get married in a week. Her fiance at the time has started to move some of his stuff into her house. He's not listed on the policy. They're not married yet. His stuff, majority of his stuff, is what was stolen, and we had no legal obligation to cover that. We could have, he's not on the policy. He doesn't live there yet. But we said, hey, they're going to be married in a week. If this would have happened a week later, that it would have been covered. Right, because they're married at that point.
Do the right thing, Jeremy.
So we did the right thing, and we covered it. And I had just come to Liberty at that time, and I was blown away because at my prior company, nope, sorry, it wouldn't. It would follow the policy language, and you wouldn't have had any love. So.
No, that gets me excited. I'm like, because that was my husband. Like, I moved in and we were talking about his truck, and I was like, why don't you just buy a new truck? He was like, this truck is paid off. And I was like, really? Because it was kind of a newer model truck. He was like, yeah, somebody broke into my house and they piled up all my stuff in my truck, and then they drove my car down the road and they totaled it. And he's like, so I got my truck back, and when the insurance paid me, I fixed it. Like, and whatever. But the thing is, he had a very difficult time with the insurance process. It was difficulty on the claim. It was difficult. Like, he had done something wrong. Like, hey, I didn't steal my truck and drive it down the road and crash my stuff in it. I didn't do that. So that makes me feel good that there's some of that humanity, because it feels like anymore insurance is sort of this necessary evil where the relationship is removed. I guess you're aiming to solve that problem.
Absolutely. And before I go out on a limb here, we don't. Some claims we have to follow language, right?
Obviously.
But a lot of times we look at it through the lens of what's the right thing to do here. And most of the time, our agents are very consultative, and we have them making sure the coverages they write are the correct ones for the clients. So there's usually not those gray areas, right? The clients are going to have the right coverage.
Right. And that's the thing that the goal anyways of the podcast, and you've known me for a while now, and the podcast has sort of evolved. It came into this idea of just real estate in the beginning. The idea was just, let's talk about real estate. Let's talk about mortgage lending. Let's talk about selling and buying in Little Rock. And it sort of has evolved into this adding value thing that, like, you're not just Liberty Mutual. You represent so many more things than Liberty Mutual, but the insurance company itself and the feeling of what you're going for, that's the value we're trying to add to the client base. Like, hey, this is a company who wants to do the right thing.
Yes.
You're used to hearing the word Liberty Mutual, thinking big, huge insurance company, lots of money. You're not thinking about an individual relationship with a person who has your best interest in mind. And I feel like that's the experience I have when I'm with you guys. Yes. So I'm guessing that's what makes it successful and why you work for a company like this. So I guess the question is, like, why are there so many insurance agencies then? Like, why isn't there just one corner of the market that does better than everybody else?
Sure. So the insurance industry is just like the real estate industry, right? There's so much competition. There's a realtor on every corner. There's an insurance agent at every strip mall.
Yeah, the difference is real estate industry has Jamie Taylor, so.
Well, yeah, the insurance.
No, I'm just kidding.
Insurance industry's got me, so
boom, true.
boom.
But without us,
Match made in heaven. Took a dynamic duos there.
I like it, right? So, I mean, seriously though, I would say off the top of my head, and this is like brand awareness too, but it's like Liberty Mutual, Allstate, State Farm. I'm out.
Geico, Progressive.
Oh,
Farmers,
you're way.
Shelter.
You're in the
There's a few.
industry.
There's
Yeah.
a few of them.
Okay,
out there,
and then
yes.
I could probably lay like way more real estate companies. So, how do you deal with the oversaturation?
So it's a great question, right? The way that we operate our business is kind of like I referred to earlier. We're involved in the communities. Okay, so you said we're out. You see us everywhere, right? That's where the majority of our business comes from. Is from those personal relationships. We partner with realtors, mortgage bankers, title attorneys, financial advisors, CPAs, auto dealerships, really all of those places where people have a need for insurance. And we're able to say, hey, if you've got a customer that has a need, we could be here as a resource for them. And we try to develop those relationships and be a trusted advisor to where if you're at a dealership and you need to buy a car and you call your current carrier and whoa, a sticker shock is just, oh my God, I can't afford this car. The salesman says, hey, you know what? Let's take a look at another carrier and see if we can help out with that. So we want to be a resource for our partners to where if they've got a deal on the line, we're able to help them out. But they know that by referring to us, we're going to take care of the client. Your client is well taken care of, and they've got the right coverage. That's the biggest thing is coverage.
Yeah, that's the thing that when it goes wrong, they're like, well, do we have the right one?
Yes.
So how do you know when you're a consumer then what's the question to ask? You know what I mean? Like with real estate, they can ask questions about equity or questions about resale and the person has to speak intelligently right away.
Right.
What's the question you ask an insurance agent to determine that they know what they're talking about?
Sure. So I would ask them.
Do you work for Jeremy?
First,
Just kidding.
Yes, exactly. So first and foremost, I would ask them to explain liability coverage to me. So
Jeremy, explain liability coverage to me.
Absolutely. So your auto policy has three basic parts to it, and your home policy has three basic parts to it. In the broadest sense, we'll talk about liability, what that is. So that is the absolute most important policy that you can have that you can have on your insurance policy, and it works like this. Most companies, most states, they've got what they call split limit policies. So here in Arkansas, state minimum is $25.50. So you choose 25/50 on an insurance page or a declarations page. What that means, you're driving down the road, okay? You get your hands attended to in the wheel, you're driving, you're
texting.
a great driver, not texting. Realtors never text on the phone, absolutely not.
Never sign a contract behind the wheel.
You go over, you get a cup of your coffee, and oh my goodness, the lid of that coffee is loose, spills in your lap, you drop the cup, now you got hot coffee in your lap, you're distracted, and all of a sudden, boom, you rear end that car in front of you. Or maybe you miss a stop sign and T-bone somebody in an intersection. So you just had an accident, right? Okay. If you have 25/50, which is the state minimum, it stands for $25,000 per person, and it caps out at $50,000 per accident. That is the max that the insurance company is going to pay.
Better hope you hit a bicycle.
That's the limit of the policy. You're probably gonna kill somebody if you hit them on a bike.
Or something small, because you're not gonna be able to replace a car or a person or anything with $25,000.
Correct.
Arkansas, get it together.
So the average cost of a car is about $27,000 on a brand new car. Okay, that's average cost. So you're already over the limit. And then what happens, and God forbid you hurt somebody or you put someone in the hospital.
Medical bills.
Life flights are $50,000. We've seen them before. That's just for the life flight to get you there. ICU is going to cost thousands of dollars a day. Time and work, lost wages. You've got time off of work. There's a lot of additional costs that are there, more than just repairing the bumper of that car, especially in a serious accident. And so that's what you're there for. You need to make sure the coverage that you have is enough. And I absolutely would tell you $25.50. It's the state minimum. It's the bare bones. It's better than nothing, but it is not. It's not adequate.
Just barely above nothing.
Barely above nothing, right? And the reason why you want to have that coverage is so you had that accident, right? You got state minimum coverage. Is you let's say that you rear-ended a Cadillac Escalade, okay? So a $90,000 car. You put the driver in the hospital. They're in the hospital for a couple weeks. They're missing work. They've got bills, and you only had $25,000.
Probably had a good job if they were driving an Escalade,
right?
too.
$25,000 in coverage. That's it. So their medical bills and all that loss may be a $200,000 loss. The insurance company is going to pay their part, that $25,000 per person. but you're on the hook for $175,000. And what happens there is we've got some, you probably hear it, right? There's attorneys all the time on the radio, on the TV. They live
injured in an accident.
That's
we'll get
right.
To it. Yep.
So what happens is you're going to get sued by an attorney. They're going to sue you for that $175,000 that person that you hit, it was your fault that it happened. They need to be compensated. They need to get their money back.
Craziest part is you can't even discharge that in the bankruptcy. It's like a judgment. It's like it follows you around forever too. So you can't even just be like, well, I'm broke, no worries. Like, no, it will ruin your life if you owe somebody that money.
And what happens is they go after all the money that you have, your liquid money, so money in your checking, your savings, investment accounts, things like that. I don't know about you. I don't want someone taking $175,000 out of my checking account. I wish I had $175,000.
Well, me too. But what I was going to say is I'd much rather just have a BA insurance policy, you know, because, and I'll just be frank with my listeners because they know my insurance level per month, I pay more for my house, my car combined, like my kids' tuition. Like you could pile all that up and I still pay more for insurance. I am overinsured. Can you even be overinsured? You can't be overinsured.
So you probably need to just have a conversation with your agent to make sure you got the right coverage.
Jeremy and I will talk about this off air.
Exactly.
But just saying, I really think that that's important because a lot of people wouldn't have known. And for me, like I know what minimum liabilities are, but I'm kind of shocked to find out they're $2,550. Now my liabilities are to cover my assets and my liabilities. So I know that I have enough to cover, you know, my car and their car if something was to happen. But $2,550, if somebody else is driving around with that policy, don't hit me.
Right. Hey, and you know what, right? So you didn't have $175,000, go back to that example, to pay off what was owed. So you're in real estate. What do you think happens? Where do they go to look for that money?
The house.
The equity in your house.
The equity in the house, they'll file a lien, I'm sure.
That equity in your home is like a big bag of money sitting on the front porch.
You're telling me.
And it is that attorney's job to go get it. Now, what happens if you don't have enough equity in your home? Do you know what happens in the state of Arkansas?
I think you fire your agent, but no. Do they collect your wages?
You get your wages garnished up to 25% in the state of Arkansas until it's paid for. So
makes perfect sense. So
because we wanted to save a little bit on our car insurance and we had state minimum coverages, now we have no money, we have no house, and we have to start all over again with a 25% pay cut. That's the reality of what happens when people don't have enough coverage in place. And so the coverage, the liability piece is it's the most important thing. So for those listeners out there, how do I know I'm working with a good insurance agent? Ask them to explain liability to you. Make sure they can clearly articulate what a liability is, why you should carry good limits of it. We can always replace stuff, right? But the liability, that's your lifestyle, right? That can affect your life for the rest of your life.
Right. That is a really good test. So I'm going to literally go ask a few insurance agents to explain it just to see, because a lot of people will give you the cheapest rate. And it's kind of like I talked to somebody recently about mortgage lending and they're like, everyone calls about the rate. And I'm thinking, probably the same thing with auto insurance. Like, how cheap can I get this? Terrifying. Okay. So what's more important when you're pricing somebody? Insurance limits like we just talked about, or deductible? Like if you had to choose and you're like a new student, you know what I mean? Like that's a hard decision to make. So how do you make a decision, deductible or coverage?
So if you think, I compare it to think about the dollars, right? Are we worried about little dollars or are we worried about lots of dollars?
We're worried about big dollars. We're
big dollars.
For the worst case scenario.
Right. So most policies are going to come, they may have a $500 deductible. It's pretty standard what we normally see for comprehensive and collision, the two parts that cover your vehicle. If money's tight, you're on a budget, go ahead and bump that deductible up. Do $1,000, do $1,500, and use that additional savings because you're saying, hey, insurance company, I'm going to carry more of the risk if something happens. So you get a better deal on your premium because you're carrying more of the risk. So take that savings and apply it to your liability coverage and have them increase that. And to double your coverage does not double the price. It's incredible how minimal of a difference it is. It may be $10, $15 a month difference to double it, to triple it. So take that savings that you would have from increasing your deductible and put it towards the liability coverage.
And it's crazy not to bundle all this, right? It's crazy not to put house, car, boat, storage unit, all that together.
Yes, depending on the company, it can range. It could be a discount as high as 30%.
That's crazy. And that's the thing on contents. Like contents is a big deal to me, and I think just because of what happened with my husband, I sort of like watch out for like all of our stuff inside, you know, because that would be the hardest thing to replace. Because you can't place your memories. You already have to replace all your stuff.
Right.
I mean, so what do you do with a house? Same thing? You're going to have to just up the deductible?
Yeah, so there's a couple options there, right? You can increase the deductible. That's usually the quickest and easiest way to free up some cash, would be to increase the deductible. What I would not recommend doing is some people might say, hey, you have a homeowner's insurance policy with replacement cost coverage. Let's take it down to actual cash value because that's less expensive. Be very careful when you're doing that, because what that means is if you have replacement cost coverage on your policy, if there's a claim like the theft that you shared with me earlier, we're going to come in and we're going to replace your stuff, right?
Yep.
So we're going
and it's going to be the cost of what's going to be to replace
right,
it.
New. We're going to buy it new. You're going to get it paid for, and you're going to have it replaced. People if they put a policy in place that has actual cash value, they get the depreciated value of that item, right? So if you've got a flat screen TV on the wall, it's a 50-inch TV. It's a nice TV. It's stolen.
It depreciated it the day you bought it, anyways.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So you may get it may be $1,000 TV. You might be worth $100 now.
The way TVs change, it's $3 if you bought it yesterday. Anyway.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's like I just made a new one out of lava.
So have replacement cost coverage on your home, and make sure that you have those high liability. Those are probably the two most crucial things to ask an agent.
Well, and I think I would go ahead and just back that up really hard with the replacement cost issue, just real quickly, because replacement cost is one thing when you're talking about your iPad and your cell phone and these things that are tangible little things you take with you. But when you're talking about your house, it's a whole different thing.
Oh, yeah.
So all these people that hit flood right now that are insured and they don't have replacement cost are going to be dealing with cash cost to cure on those items, and they're not going to be able to replace the level of marble or granite or countertop or cabinet that they had in their house because they weren't insured for it.
Correct.
Oh my gosh, my head is spinning over all this because cost approach is something it took me years to get good at, and it takes you have to put each piece of the house together to really see what that depreciated asset's going to look like after.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I'm such a nerd. I love it.
So save yourself the hassle. Just do replacement cost.
Yeah, just do replacement
It's easier
cost.
for everyone all around.
So the thing is about insurance is I love it and I hate it, because I love the fact that we're so protected and that we have this option of like, hey, I'm going to pay you $500 a month, and when I need 75 grand, you're going to back me up. Like, that's great. But I also hate it because it's a totally necessary evil. It's something that we have to explain to our children. And like, it's just hard. It's a lot. And then the healthcare industry didn't help any.
Right.
Made it more confusing, more difficult. And so it's just like, I wish I could go to one place. I could be like, hey, Liberty Mutual, I need you to give me health insurance, auto insurance, house insurance. But that's not possible. So do you think we'll ever get there, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, that's a great question. Some carriers, they do dabble in the health insurance markets. But again, when the Affordable Care Act came, that
was all before that.
It really made a very tough environment to operate in the health insurance field. So we don't operate in health insurance. A lot of the other major carriers do not want to touch it anymore.
I feel like we can't read
right.
this.
So we'll insure your life. Yeah. Correct. So we do life insurance.
If you're dead,
yes,
fine.
we do annuities. Exactly. Well, exactly. We do annuities, right? So we can do some investments for people, but really our main focus is protecting your assets, those items, those tangible items. The health is
came up with the best branding idea.
Health is not one we want to mess with.
Yeah, Liberty Mutual. We'll cover you dead or alive, not in between.
I like it.
I like it. So I really want to move to something a little bit more personal, just because I have to ask, you have such a great personality. Before I even ask how Liberty Mutual performs on a national level, I know how you perform on a local level, and I know what you've done with this team. And I've met some of these people actually before you hired them, and then watched you sort of work with the team. So why did you choose insurance? Because people always have that backstory that makes them choose what they chose. Why did you choose this?
It's a great story. You know, I kind of fell into the industry. Right. So I was in
Did you have a good insurance agent when you fell?
No, I did not.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So my first job out of college, I worked with a wholesale lending firm. Okay. And we specialized in those awful subprime loans. Okay. So I'm 22 years old. I'm working with a mortgage in the mortgage industry.
Mm-hmm. I'm appraising for you while you're doing this.
Perfect. Yes. So that lasted about 3 years. And then in 06, 07, we started to lose products. It was right before that we had the Great Recession. And the company I worked for went out of business. And so I was like, okay, I'm not sure what I want to do here, but I don't think I want to stay in the mortgage industry because it's just spiraling out of control right now. So I took a little time off, I had some money saved, and I said, I'm going to explore some industries here. So I explored some industries. You know, I went out and said, that looks cool. Let me talk to some people who are in that. And I really what gravitated me, or something that really gravitated me towards, was financial advising, working with people, protecting their assets, right, growing their wealth, things like that. But keep in mind when this was 2006, 2007.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So I'd interviewed with a couple firms and was really just looking at the market share. Okay, so everyone's nervous. People are losing jobs, right? The economy's going down. And I just didn't know if getting in an industry that dealt with financial advising was the right move at that time. Happened to meet somebody, a friend of a friend said, hey, I know a guy who is a agent at a company. And he said, you ought to go talk to him. It's similar, right? So it's kind of similar, but you're doing insurance and your market is much broader. Everyone is a potential client.
Yeah, and you're pre-failure.
So, right. And so I said, okay, yeah, I'll go talk to him. It really intrigued me. There's a lot of similarities. So I said, okay, cool, let's go. Let's make this work. I worked for him for about a year and a half. He sold the book of business, and then I went over to Liberty Mutual, and it's been great ever since. So, and along the way, I've really developed a passion for it, though, because what we do, it's very meaningful work. And what I mean by that is I'm on the sales side, right? So we talk numbers and we talk figures, we talk conversion, and we're trying to grow. Liberty Mutual is a very aggressive growth strategy. We're number 4, we want to be number 3. That's our goal. So you can't do that without growth. So we're always thinking about growth and numbers. But at the end of the day, what we really do is we take care of people. We protect them. We are there when someone is going through the worst day of their life. Yeah. They got in a serious car accident. Their house burned to the ground. They lost a wage earner or a provider for their family. And these are not fender benders. These are things that can ruin people's lives. And we're there to say, hey, it's okay. We made a promise to you. When you signed that contract with us, we made a promise to you that we were going to be there for you on this day, and we're here. And that's where we're able to step in and we're able to deliver. Some of the most powerful things I've ever done. I've had I don't know if it's the blessing, but it was a blessing to me to see it in action. I've had to deliver some life insurance death checks. So we had policyholders that have passed away. They overnight the checks to the life company overnights the checks to us, and we go deliver them in person to the survivor, the beneficiary. And it's just powerful. I remember I walked into this lady's living room to give her the check. She was there with her daughter. They'd lost their father and their husband. And she just grabbed my neck and she gave me this long, long hug. And she was crying on my shoulder. She's like, you would not believe how much of a blessing it is to see you, because everyone that's walked through that door or that I've had to talk to over the past week has wanted money. The funeral home, the hospital, right? There's a lot of expense involved when someone passes away, and they all got to get paid, right? And so everyone that has approached her that she's interacted with in the past week had their hand out, and I'm the only one coming in with saying, hey, your husband loves you so much. He wanted to make sure you and your daughter were taken care of. Here's a check for $500,000 to help with that.
Yeah. And what a testament to someone's life to be able to say, I left this for you.
Yes.
So I'm sorry I'm not here, but I got you.
So I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about the story.
And that's the thing is, like, it makes me so emotional because I know, like, when my dad passed away, like, that was hard. Yeah. When he died, I was like, great. Like, what's my mom going to do?
Right.
Like, he's Social Security of all things, too. So what am I going to do? Like, thank God they had a plan, you know? And, like, still, my mom is actually across town right now meeting with a dear friend of mine who's a financial advisor to figure out, what do we do? She's going to be in your policyholder list that we talked about so that she can have her insurance reviewed. I mean, you have to take care of people. Mm-hmm. And this community, especially Little Rock, but nationwide, like, this is what we're missing, is that gentle care of other people. So it doesn't matter if it's a life insurance check. It might be, I'm just going to check your policy and make sure you save money, but I want to be in this relationship with you because when something happens, like, that is the biggest thing right there that sells me on it, is that you're going to be there when I need you to be there, and you're going to do it honestly. And that's hard. That's hard to find.
Yeah, it's really, I love what I do because it's very meaningful work. And we had some tornadoes I remember that came through, I think it was like 2009. And I remember my phone rings at my desk. I pick it up. I think it's a client, and it wasn't. It was actually another agent's client that had called in, and I had gotten the call. But she said she was crying. She said, "Oh my God, I just pulled into my driveway, and my house is a pile of bricks right now." And I was like cold chills went over me. I said, "Hey, you know what? I looked your policy up real quick, verified it. She had good coverage. She had replacement costs on everything. Yeah. So I said, hey, it's okay. Your policy's active. You've got coverage here. Go ahead and connect you with the claims department and get that process started." And we were able to pass her off to claims, and we had a catastrophe team that went down to that area and responded, and we were able to get her house rebuilt. But it's just powerful to get those calls, because I can imagine myself as a consumer just walking into my neighborhood or walking up to my house and it's gone, right? So what do I do? All my stuff, couldn't even begin to categorize all the things in there, and just, it's a very, very emotional, powerful moment, and to be able to know that there's someone that says, hey, it's okay.
I got you.
The worst is over. We're here for you right now. We're going to rebuild this together. You made a promise to us a long time ago, and now we get to follow through on that promise.
I love that. I'm in love with that. I think that's great. And I think it's one of those things. I grew up in Southern California, and the wildfires were always crazy because when the wildfires would hit, they'd come in a neighborhood and a house would burn, and then it would, like, jump across the street and it would burn and boop, boop, boop. And so if you've seen the wreckage of fires, you'll see like house is fine, house is fine, house is torched.
Right.
And it was the most devastating thing to see people come home and, oh, is my house okay? They don't know till they pull up, and thank God they have somebody to be there for them. So I think that's probably the best point you could have made while you're here today, because that's what the idea of the Block Talk is adding value, and the value is found in the relationship.
Yes.
I mean, what's the point in having an insurance agent that has your stuff covered if they're not going to be there when it happens? One, and two, like, what if they're kind of just like a jerk? You know what I mean? Like, oh, your stuff burned? Cool. Going to Wahoo. Like,
I know, right?
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm glad. And don't make me cry, because I love it. So what's the most single, like, terrifying thing to leave uninsured? House or car? Tough one.
Ooh,
like,
that is a tough one. And I think that, if I were to think about risk, right? So I spoke about liability. Absolutely, liability is the
number one.
That is the scariest thing. And I do not know how people drive around with no insurance or low limits. I'd be terrified to even step foot out of my house.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even look at my car unless it was insured, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's the scariest thing, right? Because you can go into you can get an accident, right? We can replace cars. Okay.
Right.
If you can get in an accident with no insurance, you can replace the car. Okay. It may impact your year, but you can replace that car at some point. You could have a claim on your home, not have the right coverage. You can rebuild a home. Those can be done. If you don't have life insurance, there's nothing you can do about that when someone passes away. So you gotta get that before that occurs. But if you don't have the right liability coverage, and you severely injure somebody, you kill somebody, you get sued for life value, and that can ruin your life.
Yeah.
So that would be the scariest thing, is that to have incorrect liability limits.
Yeah. Everybody go get your liability insurance.
Yes. So get it reviewed. Worry about the big dollars.
So what about Liberty Mutual on a national level versus a local level as far as other agencies goes? I mean, obviously you're number one in my mind, but how does Liberty Mutual as a company perform nationwide and then locally?
Yeah, sure. So we have multiple different avenues of the ways that we help our clients, and a lot of our clients have different buying styles, right? So depending on their demographics, some people like to shop all online. Some people just want to do business over the phone. Some people just want to do business through email.
Yeah.
And some say, hey, I want to come in, I want to meet you, I want to talk to you. So we've got multiple different ways to help our clients. We have an internet team, we have a call center. So those are channels that we use. My channel, we call it the field channel. We are out literally in the field. We're outside sales reps, and our job is to be involved in our communities, meet people, talk to great people like you and your team over at Bluebird Realty. Give you guys a plug there, and really help people on that personal relationship level, right? So our job is to go out and find the people who aren't going to click a banner ad online, and they're not going to call an 800 number on one of our commercials because they love the Liberty jingle, right?
Liberty, liberty, liberty.
Exactly, exactly. If I could sing, I would. But our job is to go out and find those people and develop relationships with them.
Well, and that's the thing for me. So it's all relationship building, and that's sort of like, I kind of led you right to the question I wanted to ask you, because
are you leading the witness right now?
I'm actually, I'm leading you. I'm actually pushing you in that direction, because what I think is incredible was the participation that you provided to us very quickly when we asked you to. We said, my team at Bluebird Realty, which of course the podcast and the brokerage are two different things, but the brokerage that I own and operate decided we wanted to find a way to bring attention to the Realtor Political Action Committee, which is something we don't get to talk about publicly, and it's essentially the committee that goes and protects us as agents to be 1099 and to lobby for causes in our communities. And so we really wanted to find a fun way to raise money for that, and I called and said, hey, would you be on my team? And you came and freaking killed it. Can you tell everybody how much fun you had?
Oh my God, it was so much fun. It's such a blast. If I'm invited again next year, I'd love to come back. Oh, you're
on the team.
Perfect.
You're part of the rookie, you were the rookie, the ultimate rookie, so we've got to...
Well, I'm going to bring an ambulance with oxygen this time. Because
that's what's funny. We couldn't get MEMS. We really thought, someone's going to get hurt. We don't have an ambulance here. It's a good thing Liberty Mutual's here. That's right. Somebody has life insurance on that guy. We'll be fine.
But it was oh my God, it was so much fun. It was quite the workout. I was sore for a couple days afterward, but
thanks, Bertram.
So much fun. If you're involved in the real estate industry, you support RPAC, and you weren't there. Oh my goodness, make sure you're there next time. It was a blast.
Yeah.
I had so much fun.
And it was a perfect example of you coming in the community. You guys provided a bunch of water bottles for everybody. Everyone came out. They had a good time.
Yes.
They got to know you. They felt like it was personal, you know, and that's one of the only reasons that I decided like we should have our insurance looked at again, was because I'm like, man, I'm in a relationship with these people. Like, I want to make sure my stuff is good. And I don't do that. I have a friend named Dylan. He works for an independent agency called Eberly Insurance Agency. Him and his dad been there 30-something years. And he's similar to you in the way that, like, every time my insurance has ever needed to be checked, he just looks at it and he's like, I can't beat that.
Yeah.
You know, my husband had worked for State Farm for 15 years, so it was really hard to beat our rates and package for a long time.
Yeah.
And now that he's not working there, you know, yeah, we've got some openings, but the fact of the matter is the honesty and the integrity that you've provided, and then the support of our community really do make you stand apart. So my hope is that everybody that listens to this will also take a moment, check their insurance, call one of your amazing agents or you directly, and we'll put a link to your website too on the podcast link so that they can go directly there. And that's going to be the key, is if you guys need some help with insurance, make sure you can talk to somebody on a one-to-one level and make sure you know who they are and that they know who you are and what your goals are.
Yes, absolutely. And we're gonna shoot you straight, right? So if you're in a good position, we're going to tell you that, hey, you're in a great position. I'd stay where you are right now. Maybe make a couple adjustments. Call your agent, make these adjustments.
Add cybersecurity.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We're going to look at it and say, hey, here's some things that you may want to look at covering, but you're in a good spot. Stay where you are. We're gonna be honest with you and tell you that.
I just got the greatest question ever in my head.
Uh-oh.
I didn't send this one to you. So, like, what's the weirdest insurance thing you've ever seen insured, or like the weirdest policy? Like, has anyone ever shared, like, I'm insuring my boa constrictor? Like, is there?
Oh my God! So there's a syndicate called Lloyd's of London. And it's a specialty insurance group. Okay, so they specialize in very unique risk.
Sounds like it.
Risk, right? Exactly. Pinkies up. Mm-hmm. But it's amazing the things that can be insured. You have singers that insure their vocal cords. You have surgeons that insure their hands. There's just a wide range of things.
Insure these babies.
So I mean, it's amazing. You know, just the wide range of things that can be insured, right? So they've got. Just about anything can be insured.
Like an animal? Can an animal be insured?
Oh yeah, you have racehorses that are insured, things like that.
What about like your dog, Sally? Would you just insure your regular dog?
Not unless
she has...
You can do like pet insurance, where
really?
It covers the veterinarian bills. Yes.
They're really okay.
Yeah, there's pet insurance.
I don't know anything
for sure.
about pet insurance. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother niche market. So.
Oh my God, yes. So you have a dog, right? So you know how expensive those vet bills are, and
he used to have a dog.
Okay, I did too.
I know he had a really high vet bill, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was there. I had one as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
not pet insurance. That's probably what changed our next pet decision.
Right. But yeah, they're very inexpensive, right? So it's not like insuring a human. Okay, human health insurance is very expensive. Pet insurance is not expensive, and it really helps cover a lot of those costs. It covers surgeries. It covers, if they. Fido eats a chocolate bar and gets sick, right? You got to go take him to the vet. It's going to cover things like that.
What if your dog bites somebody else?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right?
Yeah.
Kill me. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I just thought of that. Like, what if your dog bites somebody? Does your pet insurance cover that, or your homeowners?
Your homeowners is what covers that, because your homeowners the homeowners, like auto, also has a liability coverage. And it's there to protect you if you or a member of your family were to accidentally harm or injure somebody, or your pet. Right. So you're responsible for the pet.
So, okay, I'm going to leave that next one. I was thinking, if your pet, attacks somebody, and your homeowner's insurance gets it, does the pet have to pay the added premium after that? Does he go to pet jail? What do you do? You know what I mean? Are you going to insure that again?
Well, it depends on the companies. Some companies will drop you for a dog bite, and it really goes back to the underwriting pool. So they're going to look at that risk and say, hey, is this someone who's never had a claim, and this was a one-off? Someone was teasing the dog and then reacted, or maybe
somebody broke in and they
something like that, or is it this dog's had bitten three people in the past year? You're good luck. You're not going to get coverage, right?
Well, it's just interesting because just when I thought I had covered all things insurance, it hit me again that there's a niche market for every part of it. You could insure specialty jewelry, you could insure your tennis court, you could insure anything.
Anything, yes.
I'm going to go home and see all the things I don't have covered and see if I can cover anything. So yeah, if you're going to give advice to Jeremy when he's 16 years old and he's sitting behind the wheel of a car and he's trying to figure out I'll just get the $25,000 limit, give some advice to those 16-year-olds, because those are the ones, do they need VPN insurance? Do they need identity and theft? Do they just need $70,000 in coverage? I mean, I guess if you could give a general rule of advice to 16-year-old Jeremy, what would you tell him?
So, the 16-year-old, that is an inexperienced operator. Is the term
and you
we
also
use in the
yell
industry.
it into their
Yes,
not listening.
yes, right. And I remember when I was 16, I felt like I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. I'm only about 9 feet tall and bulletproof now.
Yeah.
I'm matured. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly right.
The beard makes you taller.
Yeah. But I would say number one, right, before you even get talking to insurance, slow down. Don't drive like a crazy man. I know I did. I got some tickets for it. Just slow down, pay attention. Don't text and drive. It is worse than drunk driving as far as the distraction level. And that is where the majority of our accidents that we see now, most of them are coming from some sort of distracted driving. And so put the phone down, ease off that accelerator a little bit. I always recommend going to driving school. So a lot of carriers, it will help with that child's insurance rates. If they
You
go
could
to
put your kid in driver's school.
Oh, yeah.
That's such a good
Yes.
idea.
And even in my recommendation is even if your carrier is one that doesn't give the discount, go ahead and do it, because the skills that they learn behind the wheel, they do translate. There's a massive reduction in 16-year-olds that have taken that and they're on the road than the ones who've not. There's a massive reduction in
That should be a requirement, because we had to take driver's ed, and like in driver's ed, there was like a lot of instruction about like don't run other people off the road and stuff.
Right.
I remember that.
Right. Control your road rage, Jamie.
Oh no, we're not doing that. Okay, that's why I don't have a sticker on my car.
But going back to the coverage piece, if it's a 16-year-old and they're looking to insure the car, reality is it's going to be expensive, right? It's an inexperienced operator. They don't have that 10 years of experience behind the wheel, and it's a high risk, and so it's going to be expensive. So moms and dads out there, just know it. It's gonna your premium could double. That's not uncommon. We see that a lot. But some ways you can save on that: buy an older vehicle.
Nice.
Don't buy a sports car. Buy things like maybe a pickup truck or a sedan. Those are going to be cheaper to insure. Buy an older one, and if it's an old enough vehicle, you can just put like liability only on it, right? I know my first truck was it had 4 wheels and a gasoline engine, and that's all I cared about at 16 years old, right?
Yeah,
And it wasn't the prettiest thing out there, but it was mine, and I was able to drive it, and we just had liability only on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, my 76 Volkswagen Beetle has nothing to say about that. So anyways, so I appreciate you being on the podcast, but I have this one question that I ask everybody at the end, once I get the value out of them. And that is, and I'm creating like a master playlist eventually, but this question is related to like those days when you have to deliver something like that, or you're having a hard time and you have to actually like push through to keep building this business, the sales team, the area. What's the song that you could just like throw on and rock out to? Like, what is your jam?
Oh man. Well, I have a song on my iPhone when I plug it in my car every day. It's by DJ Khaled, and it says "All We Do Is Win."
Yeah.
So it's a song that gets you hyped up, and it automatically plays like as soon as I get in my car. So if I'm trying to listen to a podcast or a book, it's the song starts. So I hear it almost every single day, and it's just kind of a mindset thing, right? So we all have bad days, we have tough days, but if you just have that mindset, all right, it's just a day.
Yep.
We're gonna keep moving forward, and we're gonna win. We're gonna win the day, no matter what it takes.
There's a win in every day.
Exactly.
One way or another. So I appreciate that, and it's actually the most perfect fitting song for you, having known you. So I appreciate you coming on the show. I just want to remind our listeners one more time that we'll have a link out to your website if you guys have any questions about insurance, coverage, rate, policy, Little Rock, any of that. Jeremy and his amazing team of agents are here to help. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate having you.
It's amazing. My first podcast. I loved it. Thank you.
Well, you totally killed it. So Jamie Taylor with The Block Talk. We're out.